Lights, camera. Nancy, you know those movie clicker things? On January 6th, when democracy was hanging by a thread, Nancy Pelosi was starring in a movie. No kidding, a documentary crew led by her own daughter was there filming away. You know, I saw this yesterday, it looked like two people arguing with a pizza guy about a late delivery, but it was actually a part of a major film project. Cameras were with her all day long. I think they were tipped off, maybe by Nancy. You think that something really big just might happen? I mean, why follow Nancy Pelosi around ever? Well, it turns out Nancy Pelosi's daughter, Alexandra Pelosi, is something of a documentary filmmaker, meaning she makes movies that people don't want to see and would never pay for. She made her name in the industry back when she followed George W. Bush around in 2000 when he was running for president.
When George W. Bush announced that he was running for president, I packed my bags and left my home in New York City to join the Bush Traveling Press Corps. See, that's me reporting for duty in Iowa on my way to my first Bush interview.
Not that bad. Miss Pelosi, how are you?
Hi.
I didn't get a chance to officially introduce myself to you. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet
I've
you.
always liked your stylishness.
Alexandra's really good with the camera work and framing and cinematography. Where the hell is George W. Anyway, somehow she gets by as a filmmaker. I think it does have a lot to do with her last name, Pelosi. And on January 6th, she was there with her mom, capturing all the drama.
We're getting a counterpoint that is, we could take time to clean up the poo-poo that they're making all over them, literally and figuratively in the Capitol.
Nobody's listening to her. Notice? She's talking to herself, and it's gibberish. There's more.
Hi, Mr. Vice President? Hi, yeah, we're okay. We're here with Mr. Schumer, Mr. McConnell, the leadership, House and Senate. And how are you? Oh, my goodness, where are you? God bless you.
January 6th, where were you? Nancy was on the phone. But watch, now she's really going to start making decisions.
We've gotten a very bad report about the conditions of the House floor with defecation and all that kind of thing.
That's what we're trying. We're not going.
Okay, and that calls back. Okay, I worry about you being in that Capitol room. Don't let anybody know where you are.
All right. The decision she made was to eat a Slim Jim. Did you see that? Is that natural? I don't take her for a beef jerky person. And I say that as a beef jerky person. This is bizarre footage. CNN is acting like it's important, that somehow we're learning about the insurrection and democracy and what a hero she is. That's what they're really saying about this.
I think that this documentary footage is so valuable on so many levels, historically, as well as setting the record straight, because you may remember there were all sorts of right-wing hosts who tried to pivot away from Donald Trump's complete abdication of any sort of responsibility to, well, what was Nancy Pelosi doing that day? Where was she?
And now we know she was eating beef jerky in a conference room, talking on the phone. Okay, history has been set straight. This is all utterly bizarre, and now it's about to get a bit more bizarre-er.
The video that you guys played showing the congressional leaders and their actions on January 6th, it was clear to me that Donald Trump was not the commander-in-chief on January 6th. Nancy Pelosi was the commander-in-chief on January 6th with the assistance of congressional leadership, people like Chuck Schumer and Mitch McConnell. But Donald Trump failed in his oath once again to the American people, and he certainly failed the law enforcement agencies that were defending the Capitol from a riotous group of his supporters.
Michael Fanone, you failed. You and those law enforcement agencies, yes, on January 6th. It's not President Trump's job to go down to this hallway and find out why these cops are just standing there when people walk on in. It's also not the president's job to figure out why that Capitol Hill cop is escorting the horns guy right into the Senate chamber. You want to go behind that desk? Sure, knock yourself out. I'll even take a picture of you. All right, back to Nancy. We have to remember what an oddball she is. All right, quick review. Remember when she stood up behind President Trump and destroyed government property? It's kind of amazing. There she is doing it on national television. What they accuse Trump of doing, she's doing, and everybody can see it, and nobody calls her on it. How about during COVID, when everybody was shut down, wearing masks, staying inside? She goes out to the beauty parlor right in the middle of it. You see that guy's wearing a mask. She's not, in September of 20, just getting her hair done. That obscene obsession she has with ice cream. I mean, I think she has a problem. And the in-your-face kind of, I'm powerful, you're not, I'm going to Taiwan, I don't care what the State Department says, and I'm bringing my 50-something-year-old son with me. Yeah, what was this guy doing there? Attending meeting after meeting. I mean, I think they might be following the Hunter Joe Biden playbook. What do you think? And of course, let's not forget about her husband, who was recently in a very mysterious car accident. And, on January 6th, not only was her daughter, Alexandra, there, but so was this guy. His name is Paul. It's Nancy Pelosi's son-in-law. What the hell was he doing there on January 6th? All this to say that Nancy has problems.
Secret Service said they have dissuaded him from coming to Capitol Hill. They told him they don't have the resources to protect him here. So at the moment he is not coming, but that could change.
Oh, he comes, I'm going to punch him out. This is my moment.
I would pay to see
I've
that.
been waiting for this, for trespassing on the Capitol grounds. I'm going to punch him out, and I'm going to go to jail, and I'm going to be happy.
That's a big problem, actually. To me, this is evidence that this was a setup. I've been waiting for this, and I'm going to punch him, but I've been waiting for this. This is incriminating evidence, I do believe. And I agree with President Trump about this, lady.
That crazy Nancy, she is crazy. Crazy Nancy, crazy as a bedbug. She's crazy as a bedbug. Crazy Nancy, I tell you what, I've been watching her, and I have been watching her for a long period of time. She's not the same person. She's lost it.
Not only is she kind of crazy, I think she lacks integrity. You know, Donald Trump, new to politics, he only served one term in office. Nancy Pelosi has been floating around politics her entire life, including her childhood. That's her as a little kid with her father, who was the longtime mayor of Baltimore. Here's Nancy Pelosi a few years later hanging around JFK. I wonder, I don't wonder anything. I'm sure everything was just fine. What I'm trying to say is back then, politics was a lot more secretive than it is today. When Joe Biden ran for the Senate in 1972, you know what was happening in America? J. Edgar Hoover was still the FBI director while he was campaigning. Isn't that interesting? It was a totally different world. And all this secrecy was tolerated, although a lot of that stuff is coming back. Isn't it amazing? The left totally hated J. Edgar Hoover, and now the left totally embraces Jim Comey and FBI leadership. We have come a long way. All right, back to the matter of honesty or lack thereof. Who remembers this on Inauguration Day from him?
Before God and all of you, I give you my word. I will always level with you.
Man, he did not have to bring God into it. He shouldn't have, because he hasn't been. He hasn't been leveling with us. Big matters and small. This is actually pretty big.
Some of your Democratic allies on Capitol Hill are afraid that the U.S. got played when you went to Saudi Arabia and fist bumped with the Crown Prince, because now, obviously, a few months later, Saudi-backed OPEC is slashing oil production in partnership with Russia. Do you think it's time for the U.S. to rethink its relationship with Saudi Arabia?
Yes, and by the way, let's get straight why I went. I didn't go to one about oil. I went about making sure that we made sure that we weren't going to walk away from the Middle East and what was going on.
Everybody knew that oil was topic number one. Everybody knows we're not going to walk away from the Middle East as well. He's lying. He's lying. After that solemn promise before God, he's not leveling with us, and everybody knows it.
So dealing with really, really high gas prices. Saudi Arabia is one of the world's largest producers of oil. So there is some incentive for the president to perhaps make some headway on some sort of agreement that could lower the price of gas.
The president did leave with an expectation that more oil will be flowing into the market that could bring Americans some relief, but there was no firm announcement.
President Biden is heading home amid the fallout from his controversial trip to Saudi Arabia and that friendly fist bump with the Saudi crown prince, a country he once said he wanted to make a pariah, now at the center of the president's efforts to shore up global oil markets.
Everybody knows that oil was part of the deal. He just said it wasn't. He just said it wasn't. And now that OPEC and Saudi Arabia, they've announced that they'll be producing 2 million barrels less per day, directly contrary to President Biden's wishes. President Biden then goes on to say, we're going to penalize Saudi Arabia about something that I did not actually bring up. He just told the interviewer.
It wasn't about oil.
Okay, but
But we should, and I am in the process when this House and Senate gets back, they're going to have to. There's going to be some consequences for what they've done with Russia.
See how this works? He's not leveling with us. Russia also reducing production, and he screwed up. He has screwed up this relationship with a very powerful ally that every president has taken very, very seriously and maintained. President Trump, his first trip overseas was to Saudi Arabia. Barack Obama, for all of his faults, took the relationship very seriously. We need friends over there. Same for George W. Bush. Bill Clinton maintained and enhanced the relationship. George H.W. Bush. Before that, Ronald Reagan. Yes, hello, we need a place from where we can project force if we have to, right? Makes sense, everybody? And Biden screwed it up. Biden went over there with that goofy fist bump, making demands. He's not good at this. He's not good at this, even though he told us he was good at this.
So I've been dealing with foreign policy for longer than anybody is involved in this process right now. Look, I've known every major world leader because of the nature of my job as a head of the Foreign Relations Committee, then doing foreign policy for Barack, and now. I've spent a lot of time with foreign leaders, from the leader of China, Russia, etc., because I was vice president. And
all right, we get the point. It goes on like this. But you know what? Maybe Joe just believed his own press clippings because that's what the media said about him, too.
Joe Biden knows foreign policy. He comes to this job with more experience than any new president since George H.W. Bush.
Of course, foreign policy is seen as one of Joe Biden's biggest strengths.
Biden's foreign policy team is highly intelligent and capable.
No one has ever brought as much foreign policy expertise and experience to the presidency as Joe Biden.
All hype, not true. And he just blew it in a huge, huge way. Got owned by the Saudis, and we will pay the price. Also, this all stems from the domestic screw-up, cutting back on our oil production. We are in a bad, bad place, but it could change in a matter of weeks.